In political humor, does anything go? Is the outside of the envelope the nightly, endlessly sexual jokes made about then-President Clinton? Are John McCain age jokes okay, but Barack the Magic Negro songs not? And in our #1 story tonight, David Letterman has now admitted to being guilty of poor taste in jokes about Governor Sarah Palin's daughter, but he insists the jokes were not about her 14-year-old daughter, but rather the 18-year-old. Governor Palin in New York over the weekend, stopping by Yankee Stadium alongside former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, near my seats, I might add, in protest. The visit provided the inspiration for Letterman's top 10 list last night.
Top 10 highlights now of Sarah Palin's trip to New York. #2, bought makeup at Bloomingdale's to update her slutty flight attendant look.
Correction, that was Monday night. Mrs. Palin quick with a response, the governor noting she did not even visit Bloomingdale's, and that Letterman failed to mention that the point of her trip was to attend an autism event.
For him to pick up on such a thing, a distortion that, again, is based on a slow news day, evidently, not having anything else to talk about. That's pretty pathetic, good old David Letterman.
Yes, that's pretty much a tin ear response for the governor, but frankly, was the word slutty really needed, let alone appropriate? The governor's outrage going one further and supported tonight by David Letterman.
One awkward moment for Sarah Palin at the Yankee game. During the 7th inning, her daughter was knocked up by Alex Rodriguez. And the toughest part of her visit was keeping Elliot Spitzer away from her daughter. That was the hard part.
Today, posted on Governor Palin's Facebook page, statements from both the governor and her husband concerning Mr. Letterman. Quote, laughter incited by sexually perverted comments made by a 62-year-old male celebrity aimed at a 14-year-old girl is not only disgusting, but it reminds us some Hollywood NY entertainers have a long way to go in understanding what the rest of America understands, that acceptance of inappropriate sexual comments about an underage girl who could be anyone's daughter contributes to the atrociously high rate of sexual exploitation of minors by older men who use and abuse others. Again, something of the tin ear there. Presumably, Letterman referred to Palin's older daughter, who became pregnant at 17. A point he addressed during the taping of tonight's show late this afternoon, in which he said, we were, as we often do, making jokes about people in the news, and we made some jokes about Sarah Palin and her daughter, the 18-year-old girl her name is Bristol, that's right, and so then, now they're upset with me. These are not jokes made about her 14-year-old daughter. I would never, ever make jokes about raping or having sex of any description with a 14-year-old girl. I mean, look at my record. It has never happened. I don't think it's funny. I would never think it was funny. I wouldn't put it in a joke, rather. Governor Palin, if you're watching, I would like you to consider coming to New York City, you and Todd as my guests, or leave Todd at home. I'd love to have you on the show. It'd be exciting. All right, so there, I hope I've cleared up part of this. Am I guilty of poor taste? Yes. Did I suggest that it was okay for her 14-year-old daughter to be having promiscuous sex? No. Joining me now, and the MSNBC political analyst, columnist for CQPolitics.com, Craig Crawford. Good evening, Craig.
Hi. Free trip to New York.
Yes.
She wins.
or loses, as the case might be, well, it turns out. I love David Letterman. I respect him. Sitting next to him last year, the day that John McCain canceled out on him, was like getting to sit next to Wellington as he defeated Napoleon at Waterloo. I agree with him, though. The joke about the daughter, because it left that, what are you talking about, a 14-year-old or an 18-year-old, or either one, doesn't make a difference. It was poor taste, but when he makes a knocked up joke, isn't it safe to assume he meant the daughter who actually was, in reality, knocked up? I mean, did the Palins just overplay what would have been a good political hand before they sort of hit it over the head with a hammer?
Sure. I mean, knocked up by Alex Rodriguez. I mean, if that had really happened, it would be in Selena Roberts' book, right? But it wasn't. And she has definitely sought some political advantage here, Keith. There's no getting around that. And I don't know that she was even personally that offended as much. I mean, I think she was probably secretly thrilled to be in the top 10 of Letterman. But this is something that works for her. And you saw in her statement where they mentioned people around the country, those Hollywood, New York entertainers,
exactly,
not understanding the rest of us. There is the core of the political purpose in this, is turning those people against the coastal elites and to her side.
The joke about the governor, which he did not address, apparently, we only had these excerpts from his taping tonight. Is it, in fact, appropriate to use that one word, slutty, in any joke about a woman politician, or should that, in fact, be out of bounds?
I think it's probably out of bounds. I mean, the Global Language Monitor today, we learned the English language now has 1 million words. So, I mean, there were maybe some others to choose, or maybe leave it out altogether. And, of course, it's also an insult to flight attendants.
Yes.
I think, you know, when this is an age when I think, you know, gender-specific racial slurs, those kinds of things, even for comedians, are just dangerous territory, particularly for a big commercial show like Letterman's. I mean, I'm not saying the First Amendment shouldn't protect anything anybody wants to say, but commercial speech in his case, this went too far.
I had this debate with, of all people, Harry Smith from CBS the night of the Correspondents' Dinner when Wanda Sykes said of Limbaugh, "You hope Obama fails, I hope your kidneys fail." And I said to Harry, I don't think so. I just think that was outside the pale. And Harry says, no, this is comedy. Comedians necessarily get more latitude. Is that true? Letterman could make a joke like that about Sarah Palin, but Sarah Palin could not make that joke about David Letterman?
Well, she could call him slutty. He'd probably agree. I think you know, there is more latitude for comedians, and but that doesn't mean there are no limits. And I think we have reached a point in society where certain things like you know, some of the old jokes of the 60s about ethnic groups and so on would never fly today, and that's because society changes. So I think societal norms change, and those are the limits on comedians, particularly big commercial comedians who have to depend on big audiences to survive. But I think that we need them in our society, because the point of having comedians in our society is they say the things that we can't say. Yes. But there are limits, and it's like a pressure valve, but it is a valve. It's not a gusher. Right. There's no limit on it.
Laughter as a sanction against inflexible behavior. In 15 seconds, he invited her to come on the show. Is there any chance she will have the political wisdom to say, I'm going to shoot the works here and try it?
Oh, this is the old formula. Talk show host maybe inadvertently insults politician. Politician gets outraged. Talk show host apologizes. Politician goes on, and they all make up. So I think that's what'll happen. Yeah,
so I don't think it'll happen in a million years. Craig Crawford of CQ Politics at MSNBC. It would be great to see it, but it won't happen. All right, thank you, Craig.
You bet.